Hello again, welcome back everyone. LiquorHound here with you, and thank you for joining me once again for another spirit review video. Today we're going to be taking a look at 3 wild ryes, okay? We do have my St. Sally Nobleman Rye, the one I actually blend on. This is batch 4. Of course, batch 4 was highly anticipated following 3, which won Whisky Magazine's World Whiskey Awards Best American Rye here 2024. So we followed it up with batch 4. It just got released into Total Wine's system like a week ago. So we're hoping to see it on Total Wine store shelves at the very beginning of November. But if you happen to be fortunate enough to be in North Texas, it is available at the distillery as of right now, which is about October 20th. Okay? All right. It is 107 proof. This rye is finished in Tok-eye casks. Now, Tok-eye is a Hungarian sweet wine, very similar to Sauternes. It's a noble rot wine, hence we called it the Nobleman. And while noble rot doesn't necessarily sound great, all it is basically where they let the grapes concentrate on the vine, concentrate the sugars almost like an ice wine. But then there is a light fruit webbing. It's like a fruit fungus webbing that'll develop on the outside of the clusters a little bit. And it's not enough to truly rot the fruit at all. It's just that in the morning there's enough humidity and dew that kind of lets that fungus create the webbing. By midday, sun comes out, dries it out, so you're just left with this constant little light webbing on them. But that's what it is. So if you like the French Sauternes wine, you'll probably would really love Tok-eye, and you should probably grab a bottle of that to experience that kind of honey and pear characteristic that it gives. All right. Now, from there, we're going to go to Driftless Glen, coming out of Wisconsin. Now, Driftless Glen, I'm fairly new to them. Some friends of mine introduced me to their cask strength bourbons and ryes, and I really liked what they were doing. And I happened to be up in Kansas, actually Kansas City, South Kansas City, and around Leeswood. And there's a store there called Ranch Mart, and this is their pick. They actually had the bourbon as well. I got to try them both. Well, I really like the bourbon. I just love really unique rye profiles. So I found this one to be really fitting that bill. Now, when I say really unique or wild ryes, what I'm talking about is me personally, I'm kind of over the young rye characteristic a lot. So if you're into the lemon and the dill and the floral and the pine needles, that's not really what I'm into. So I don't really seek that out. Okay, I'm looking for those deep, darker rye concentrated flavors. So I like it when rye tastes old, like it has a lot of maturity on it. That's really kind of what I'm looking for. All right. And it doesn't have to be that. Like, I mean, Nobleman's a great example of that. It doesn't have to be 13, 15 years old to be a great rye. You can get a lot of those nuances around 7, 8, 9 years old. All right. Which also Nobleman have some to run around 7, 8 years old. Okay. Now, last but not least. Oh, and this is cask strength, by the way, which price point on this one was only $69, which is about the exact same price point at Nobleman. But this one is 117 proof. And it's barrel 3245, bottled by Angelica. Okay. Aged 5+ years, it says. Hand selected by Ranch Mart. Wine, spirits. Okay. Now, people ask me sometimes, hey, are you going to do a cask strength rye on the St. Sally? Maybe one day we'll do that. But for now, the Nobleman is just a blend of sourced MGP 95.5 rye with some Ironroot yet to be released 60% rye mash bill. And that rye is almost 5 years or a little over 5 years now. It's fantastic. It's rich, viscous whiskey, very complex. And then when you combine that with some aged MGP that we age up here in Texas to kind of take advantage of our climate, you end up with a fantastic rye, like a starting base, right? And then we spent a whole year in Tok-eye casks. Bang, that's what we get. All right. Now, back over here. This one is from Rolling Fork. Now, Rolling Fork is an independent bottler mostly known for their rums, okay? And when I was at Ranch Mart, they start showing me this bottle, and they're tasting me on it, and it's like 55.3% ABV, 110.6 proof. Batch number 2. Fortuitous Union. Now, Rolling Fork Spirits, and it says it's cask strength, 110.6. But this one is like a blend of several rums. It's one of, I think it's Guyana and Jamaica. Let's see if it says on the back. I'll put it in the details, the exact thing, because they don't say it on the back here. It does say it's non-chill filtered, no additives, no finer spirits on the back. Bottled by Starlight Distillery in Indiana. But when I tasted it, I loved it. And we're going to get to that, and I'm going to tell you why I loved it in a minute. But let's go ahead and get back and starting with St. Sally Nobleman at 107 proof. $69 price point. Again, Hungarian sweet wine cask called Tok-eye, which actually means companion in the language. Okay. On the nose. Oof. Wow. Okay. So this is beautiful in that you definitely get, you know it's rye whiskey right out the gate. There's no, you're nosing this blind, it's definitely rye. You're going to get a lot of brown sugar, almost heading into molasses territory. Sorghum. There's a lot of, the thing I'm picking up in this one that I did not pick up in necessarily as much in batch 3 is a little bit of like a vanilla bean. There's definitely orange oil, and that's always been through pretty much all of them. There's clove, that's always in all of them. The leather tone, that's another one that kind of holds true. But as far as the fruit component here, beyond that rye grain, and it's kind of cooked in with a little caramelized note to it, because again, the sugars here feel a little over, like they're toasted sugars, they're caramelized sugars. You pick up the oak, it's beautiful. But plums and figs, honey baked pears, a little hint of like a sprig of mint, not a lot, but it's in here on the nose. Old oak and older leather, a little bit of cinnamon. Wow, okay. I think if you're a bourbon drinker, you're really going to love this one as well. I even find my single malt drinkers love the Nobleman Rye. But here we go. Above medium viscosity, almost medium high, but not quite. Oop, man, there is a lot of impact. The thing I love about this whiskey, again, 107 proof, it's not cask strength, but it's not, 92 or 90 either. This is a good mid-ground, right? This is something that's going to be enticing for both sides, whether you're a novice or you're experienced. This will have you covered. But yeah, brown sugar, molasses, that dryness almost of that sorghum. And then it gets really dark and brooding. It starts going into like those baked plums. Again, that fig component. I could almost see like a baked red apple in here. Clove, lots of leather. And it's not new leather. This is, again, older, worn leather. That orange oil is beautiful, laid throughout. It has some, like, almost like a little bit of a, again, if you're a bourbon drinker, you're going to gravitate here. You're going to definitely see the bridge, the link. You'll see almost like a little bit of a, we love that. A lot of the profiles we find in good, rich bourbon, we kind of like our ryes to kind of hit some similarity to that. Almost like when Booker No did the Booker's Rye when he laid down that 13-year rye that they later bottled. That rye is beautiful, but you can tell it was made by a bourbon maker, right? I think you'll see this in this one as well. The finish just rolls. And what I'm talking about here is you'll pick up sweetness of the Tok-eye cask, but it's not, some people pick it, I picked it up late personally. Some people will pick it up early, but no matter if you pick it up early or late, you'll see a transition. Some feel like it dries, like the sweetness dries out on the back end. I actually feel like it picks up on the back end. but there's bookish character in this one, like dusty rye. When you look at those old, you know, 80s ryes, 70s, you start picking up that dusty, bookish character. This has a little bit of that on that back end. But up front, oh no, it's all about the rye up front. Vibrant, floral, and it's like the little white flowers, little white flowers is what I see when I taste that. And with that big plum and those kind of, again, baked caramelized pears, figs, big clove, little bit of anise or anise in there. And then you start turning into that back end, that old leather and bookish oak, right? I love that beauty. It's almost like a tale of two ryes. I think I remember batch one being very kind of similar like that. Some notes were kind of fresher, brighter rye, and then some were really dark. Anyway, I hope it does well this year. But what I really hope is that each and every one of you hopefully at least get to try this. You know, you go to Total Wine, hopefully they'll have one open at the beginning of November. And hopefully you can get to taste this because it's an experience everybody should have if you like rye whiskey. Heck, even if you like bourbon or single malt, you should probably have that. Okay, Driftless Glen, cask strength. Man, yeah. Okay, what was the proof on this one again? 115, 117 proof, 117 proof. Selected by Ranch Mart. Okay. By the way, the guy at Ranch Mart, and I'll put his name right below it because it escapes the top of my head, but super knowledgeable. That dude has been in the industry. I think he was a bartender for decades, like almost 30 years, and then now he's working, like heading up the spirits program here. He really knows this stuff, so go talk to him. All right? All right. Oh, nice. White chocolate and eucalyptus. It's crazy. You don't get that all the time. I do find it in their products a lot. On their rye, I get the white chocolate eucalyptus. Sometimes it's a lot less than what it is here in this one. That little bit of that grape seed oil in it. Lots of, yeah, there's some dried apples in here. A little bit of cherry. Natural cherry, not maraschino or anything like that. And caramel, lots of caramel or caramel. All right, here we go. Let's give it a little taste. I pick up the heat on the 117. I pick it up in the nose, but the reason I can tell it's not burning my nose. What it's actually doing is kind of muting the nose. So sometimes when spirits are higher ABV, they kind of close down the nose, so you have to add some water to help bring that out. But what's more important is a lot of times they're not going to cover up the palate. So here we go. Oh, it's a beautiful whiskey. 117 for $69 again. Both these are amazing deals. I will say this one is definitely more in that fresh, vibrant rye category. It doesn't go into the darkness. But the caramel, the brown sugar, the grape seed oil is in here. Ooh, right here, mid palate. What is that? It's almost like wintergreen gum. There's almost like a little bit of wintergreen essence in the mid palate to go along with that big eucalyptus and white chocolate. A little bit of like almost like a lemon zest in here. Still staying on the vibrant spectrum. It almost feels like a toasted oak because there's a good amount of oak, but it's not heavy. It's not weighty oak. Medium, I would say on the viscosity, by the way, if I didn't say this already, this one's almost medium high as well. Medium, above medium. It's not the most complex rye you're going to find, but the super unique components, those characteristics that are in here, and the fact that it's 117 and really doesn't drink it, it probably drinks closer to like 110. is a fantastic deal. All right. All right, now for the curveball. 110, what was it? 110.4? 110.6 proof. The Rolling Fork, Fortuitous Union. Now, this one is going to be that, again, a rum independent bottler blending a rum and rye together. All right. So it's not technically a rye, it's not technically a rum. This is some type of cocktail spirit, let's say. What do they classify it as on the label? They don't. A blend of rum and rye whiskey. There you go. Cask number SMB 2022, batch 2. Okay. When I nose this blind at the store, the one thing I'll say, and even right now when I first nose it, you think Jamaican rum right away. Those kind of estery, lightly funky notes are in here. And again, I'll put all the details right in the description, so if you click on that, you'll see exactly which islands or just countries that are involved in the rum that are blended in. But beyond that rum, it's mostly molasses and like syrup, like maple syrup. A little bit of cocoa. Dried, this is like a, what I call that? Yeah, it's like dried apples and sour plum. Sour fermented plum. Not a lot beyond that. It's not super complex. If you were nosing this blind, you'd say it was a rum. The only rye characteristics that I pick up in here is a little bit of the spice. Let's go ahead and taste it. It's fantastic. It's butterscotch. It's butterscotch and caramel. It has heft of a rum without the aggressiveness that they sometimes can have. So if you're used to big Jamaican rums that are just a little too funky for you, or you know, and you're coming from, let's say, a sweetened rum world, again, this is not sweetened, no additives or anything like that. But if you're coming from that and you're trying to get into rums, this might be a really cool bridge. If you're a cigar aficionado, you're gonna love it. I actually poured this at a cigar event this past weekend, and it was kind of a hit. So this is actually my second bottle going through. So anyway, fantastic as far as a rum. Not necessarily for a rye. Hard pressed to pull the rye characteristic out of there. But I hope you enjoyed this video review. It is an honest, straightforward review. Of course, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm not beholden to any distilleries because I'm not asking anybody for these bottles. What I do is I ask your support here on patreon.com/LiquorHound, and it's through their help at only $5 a month that I'm able to continue purchasing these bottles to review for everyone, because seriously, who's going to take a shot a lot of times on things you don't know about, right? So that's what I come in handy. I do that. If you're a patron, you're going to get bonus video coverage, bonus video reviews. There's a whole complete library there. You're going to get videos 2 weeks early and ad-free. So I hope you'll consider joining us there. Again, patreon.com/LiquorHound. But as always, I greatly appreciate each and every one of my viewers and subscribers. So keep leaving all those great comments, and I'll get to them just as soon as I can. Everyone have a great day, and cheers.